The Beatles' greatest strength was also, ironically, their biggest challenge. No matter what personal conflicts brewed between them, the four members always seemed bound together by the music they created. That shared passion drove them forward, pushing them to seek out fresh sounds and remarkable songs they could share with the world. For years, that unity allowed them to overcome disagreements. But as time went on, each member began to form different ideas of what truly defined good music, and those diverging visions gradually pulled the group apart until the only solution was to go their separate ways. The idea of a reunion often fascinated fans, but for it to happen, their musical philosophies would have needed to fall back into alignment. Their solo careers, however, revealed how far apart they had drifted. Each Beatle took a different path. John Lennon explored raw confessional songwriting. Paul McCartney leaned toward polished pop craftsmanship. George Harrison embraced spirituality and Eastern influences. And Ringo Starr pursued a more laid-back rock style. Their contrasting directions highlighted the fact that even if they were to stand in the same studio again, it would take an enormous shift in mindset for them to reunite purely, as George once suggested, for the sake of the music. This naturally raises an intriguing question. What period of the Beatles' work stood out the most to George Harrison himself? When reflecting on the band's catalog, he explained that he didn't really measure their music by individual favorites or dislikes. Instead, he remembered the experience as a whole, the constant growth, the changes, and the feeling of being on an incredible journey. Still, certain albums left stronger impressions on him than others. For Harrison, two records stood as particularly positive milestones: Rubber Soul and Revolver. He recalled those albums with fondness because they marked moments when the group was pushing boundaries and discovering exciting new directions. To him, each record along the way had its own merits and showed progress, but those two albums symbolized a creative leap that resonated with him personally. On the other hand, not every release sparked the same pride. He looked back on Yellow Submarine as a weaker effort, one that didn't carry the same sense of achievement he felt with the others. If you were to ask each Beatle to single out their most meaningful records, you'd likely get very different answers. Lennon might point toward the more experimental works, McCartney might highlight albums full of melody and structure, and Ringo might choose something entirely different again. Harrison's perspective only underlines how unique their individual experiences were, and it suggests why the idea of a reunion remained more fantasy than reality. After all, for a true comeback to happen, all four would have needed to reach the same conclusion about what music mattered most to them. And as history shows, their answers never truly matched.